Hi, everybody. I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, America's #1 small business expert, and I want to welcome you to Small Biz Chat Live. Today's show is all about what holds people back in terms of their finances. And we're going to talk about building an effective website that converts, along with providing excellent customer service. My guests tonight have some great insight to share. And if you've been thinking about how you can manage your finances better in your business, you're in the right place. If you've been struggling with sales conversions on your website, we're going to help you fix that too. And if you always wanted to know what it's really like to run a multi-million-dollar business, I've got the lady here for you that's going to talk about the secrets of running a 7-figure business. Now, the Small Biz Chat podcast is a peer-to-peer interview show that gives small business owners a way to get invaluable business insights. The mission of Small Biz Chat is to end small business failure. Our Small Biz Chat broadcast can be seen on my Small Biz Lady Facebook page, on my YouTube channel, and of course, we are also streaming on Twitter. You know I love my Twitter peeps. Now, the goal of Small Biz Chat is to end small business failure, and we want to give our small business audience an opportunity to hear sage advice from multiple angles. And this is a special show tonight because this is the 12th anniversary of Small Biz Chat. Yes, I've been doing this for forever, but I love it. And I always want to do things that help you live your dream life as an entrepreneur. Now, tonight's guests are CPA Suzanne Moraga. She has a great new book out called Profit First for Minority Business Enterprises. We're also going to talk to fitness professional and business coach Billy Polson. He's going to talk to us about how to sell more from our websites. And we're going to finish it up tonight with CFO Kathy Svetina, and she is the founder of Newcastle Finance, and she's going to be talking to us about how to run $1 million business, or really what you need to know about how to run $1 million business. With that, let me introduce my first guest, Suzanne Moraga. She is a CPA and certified Profit First professional, and she's the author of the new book, Profit First for Minority Business Enterprises. She has 20 plus years experience helping clients achieve long-term financial stability by leveraging tax strategies. For more information on her, you can go to moragacpa.com. She's going to be talking to me tonight about Profit First and just strategies in general to tighten up the finances in your business. Suzanne, welcome.
Hi, Melinda. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. So now let's jump into it. Tell me, as a CPA, what are the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs tend to make with their finances?
They say statistically only 4% of companies ever reach $1 million, right? So there's a lot of mistakes that happens in the small business world. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that happens in small business is we start these businesses and we do what we love, right? We do what we love and we do it well, but we never sit down and think of what do I want? What do I want my business to produce? What kind of life do I want to live? And what is my end goal in my business? And so what happens is our business just produces random results, right? We're doing what we love, but we never ever figure out exactly how to get there. But strategically, if you think about where you want to end up, how much do you want to actually make? What's your exit strategy, right? You can start to really design what your end goal is. So that's like one of the biggest mistakes that I see is just people just not thinking about what does winning really look like at the end of the day, and then algebraically, how do I get there?
Boy, when you said that businesses produce random results, you said a whole mouthful right there. It's like, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there, right? I mean, it's the same thing in a business. And I also think, I think people's fear of math is the reason why they kind of like don't know. It was like they had that bad math teacher in middle school, and it's like, I don't want to look at the numbers. It's like, but you got to look at the numbers, right? Because if you're not making any money, that doesn't make much sense, right? So, I mean, now the thing that I wanted to ask you about, though, particularly given your book, so you decided to write Profit First for the Minority Business Enterprise. And so I want to talk to you about whether or not you think people of color struggle differently in this area, or if you think it's universal. There's a whole bunch of clueless people out here producing random results. Like, they help me understand why you wanted to address this audience in particular.
Melinda, that is an excellent question because, just like you said, there are universal issues that entrepreneurs run into in general, right? We don't know what we don't know, right? And, whether that's how to market our business, how to do our accounting, we just don't know, right? That's universal. But I think where we have to peel it back, that layer is, when you look at companies as a whole, no matter what their race demographic is or background demographic, minority businesses tend to struggle more, right? They tend to be smaller, they tend to not make it to that larger size. And there's a lot of reason that happens with that. One is a lot of us, we're Gen 1, right? We're Gen 1 to really start businesses. We're not passed down that knowledge of the how-tos. And so we're figuring things out, right, as we go along, which sometimes is something that maybe a majority, a non-white a non-minority business might not deal with, right? Because, maybe they've inherited a business before and that's been passed down. I think also too, there's something called trauma DNA that happens, right? And what that means is, Melinda, you're a woman of color like myself, right? We are the
Mhm.
stories that we are told. We're the stories that our mama told us, our stories that our grandfather told us, right? And, I looked at my own generation. I was like, I'm like 3 generations removed from slavery. And literally, my grandfather was a sharecropper. My mother, moved, her family moved up from the Great Migration. And literally, we grew up with those stereotypes, right? My grandfather worked the plantation that used to enslave our family at one point. And so literally just being able to navigate rooms, especially as you grow in your career, as you expand outside of your territory, right? Outside of the people that look like you, the neighborhood,
Mhm.
that happens there. We have to talk to people that don't look like us, right? And so there's stories that we've been told, like, I remember my mom telling us as I was growing up, you can't trust white people, you got to be careful, things like that. And we have to we have to overcome those stories that we're told. Another thing is, what I find, just even with my clients that I have seen is, there's a guilt for having made it, right? In our communities. And so we feel like we've just been blessed, we've been lucky, right? And so we want to give back to our communities. And sometimes, we want to give back, but sometimes it doesn't necessarily fit the best fit for the company, if that makes sense. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like,
Mhm.
I always tell the story of when I was starting my company, my brother, my younger brother, brilliant guy, but he graduated during the wrong time, during a recession. And I remember every time my family would call me, it was to check up on the status of my brother's application. And it was challenging because, maybe my brother didn't really want to be in accounting, but I ended up hiring him. And it ended up being the worst thing because I ended up like prohibiting him from really expanding into what reach he wanted to reach into. So really just, being able to balance that loyalty to family, to community, with also growing our business. So overcoming that survivor guilt.
Mhm. It's really interesting because I think that from the very beginning of my brand as the small biz lady, I ability, all of that is true. So one of the things that I just think sometimes we have to be careful because I definitely think there are people who wear their minority status, if you will, as a crutch, and I think there are other people that wear their minority status as victimhood, and then there's some people that are getting paid based upon marketing while black, being a celebrity, being black, all this kind of stuff. So I just kind of like try to be excellent. Like that's like my goal, like be excellent, and it seems to be working universally. But now I'm very familiar with Mike McAllis's book, Profit First, and so your book is an offshoot of his, right? Like, so you're one of his people, and you decided, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I've got a CPA. I'm going to write, another version of this book. I mean, tell us how that all came about.
Profit First is an amazing book. I love Mike McHowlett's book. I'm like probably one of the biggest fans of his book, and our book does cover the foundation part of Profit First because when I sat down to write this book a couple of years ago, I kept like stealing his nuggets and putting that in there in the book, and so I was like, this needs to be under the Profit First brand. But what it does differently is it expands on that more from a minority standpoint. So one of the things that we have to start with is defining what is a minority business enterprise. And what minority business enterprise is first of all, it's a certification, right? It's a certification of, either the National Minority Supplier Development Council is bestowing this upon you. Sometimes the cities bestow this upon you, or your counties. But what it means is that you're 51% owned by a person of color. There's certain ethnicities that qualify for that. And, one of the things that when you're going through certification is, there's government contracts, right? There's RFPs, if you get certified by the National Minority Supplier Development Council, there's opportunities to work in the corporate under their contracts, like your Coca-Colas or your Exxons or your Chevrons down here in the Houston area. And so we talk about, government contracting. A lot of times when people think about government contracting, they're like, oh my gosh, I want this. It's $1 million contract. There has to be something left over for me in $1 million contract, right? And
we're going to talk about that a little later about misnomers about $1 million contracts, but definitely.
Exactly. And what we find is, when there's an RFP process or request for proposal and you have a bidding, right? A bidding war, what happens is you have this downward pressure to decrease prices, right? So it ends up being this race towards the bottom, right? And so everybody that may not be familiar with that, you have to really be careful, first of all, about what contracts you even bid for, right? Because not all money is good money, right? If you're not making the margins, you're not making the profit. And so it's better to walk away from some of those contracts. And we talk about in the book about sole source contracts and contracts that actually are better. We also talk about tax strategy, right? We talk about the tax strategy to increase your wealth without increasing your expenses. Like any accountant can tell you, go out and buy that truck for $50,000, get that Section 179 deduction at $25,000. But at the end of the day, if you're buying a $50,000 truck to save $10,000 in taxes, what kind of sense does that make, right? And so what we're going to talk about in the book is like, maybe what we're going to do is we're going to look at your goals, right? What are your overall goals? You want to increase longevity, because you increase longevity, you're going to increase profits, right? And so maybe we're going to do this through a 401k that has a very harsh vesting period, meaning that your employee has to be with you for 6 years to fully vest, right? And if they say, so long, I'm out of here, because somebody offered me $1 more, they're not vested. That goes back into the owner's coffer, right? And so we're going to talk about tax strategy of how to build your wealth and also get your goals ultimately with that. It also talks about mindset, right? Because we talked about, we deal with some of the same problems that other people deal with, right? But at the same time, we have to overcome mindset. We have to overcome those stories that we've been told, those stories that are in our mind, in order to make it to the next level.
Definitely. So let's talk a little bit quickly about the profit first system. If I want to implement, can you talk just a little bit about what it is, and if someone wanted to get started with it and they're not using it now, how might they get started implementing it?
I love profit first. It really works with your natural biological and psychological makeup, right? And versus the traditional accounting where you have revenue minus expenses equals profit. And I always equate it to dieting, right? And, when you go on a diet, the first thing they tell you is eat less food, right? And you do this by using smaller plates. And that's exactly what Profit First is going to do. It's going to create small plates for you. And it's going to do that through the means of bank accounts, right? And you're going to have a bank account that really is almost like budgeting, right? It's set up for a budget. It's set up like, how much am I going to spend for my operating expenses, right? How much am I going to put away for profit immediately? How much am I going to put away for my taxes? And of course, I got to pay myself. So I got to have owner's pay, right? So I don't go home and my husband's like, hey, why did we work today? So, we want to set up those bank accounts for that. And so what's happening is, the money that's put into this operating account, right? That's distributed to this operating account. That's all you have left. That's all you have left to spend on your business. You can invest in an expensive office space right in the middle of downtown if you want, but that means you're going to have less money to employ people, right? And every decision that you make, it's going to have a consequence. So we really work with your natural design in order to increase your profitability. And really, because you're putting away profit, it's just physics, right? You put away money for profit, you're going to be profitable, right? And I love that. And that's exactly how Profit First works.
I love it. All right. So let's switch gears just a little bit. You talked about how important it is to pay yourself. Now, this is something that I think a lot of business owners struggle with. When times get tight, they skip a check, and you can only do that for so long before your spouse is up in your face like, hey, what is going on, right? So talk a little bit about not only about paying yourself, but what is the right mechanism to do so? Because I think a lot of people got caught in this PPP loan stuff, well, people taking draws and stuff and not having paperwork, not having a 941 from a payroll company to prove what you had been paying yourself. And so I kind of wanted to just talk about the cases and how you can pay yourself in a business.
You're absolutely right. It says it worked if you were a sole proprietorship or just an LLC, but if you were an S corp and didn't have payroll, you were out of luck when it came to getting a PPP loans. You're absolutely right about that, Melinda. You know, really, as an owner, you owe it to yourself to pay yourself, right? You owe it to yourself. You get up every day. You owe it to your family. You owe it to your team to pay yourself. And personally, I look at it from my own personal situation. When I first started Profit First, actually right before I started Profit First, what made me go to Profit First was, I wasn't paying myself. I was paying my employees first, and whatever was left over, that's what I took for me. And that's what made me a diehard convert when it came to Profit First. And it was interesting because I was working so hard because, I was competing with those government contracts. I was lowballing the prices like everybody else, right? And what was happening was, nobody I couldn't hire anybody, right? I couldn't hire anybody because nobody would work for free but me. And I remember one day, I was sitting at my desk. It was Saturday. It was like right before April 15th. And as an accountant, you don't play around April 15th. And that back went out. It was like snap. It went out. And I ended up that week on bed and I was on muscle relaxer. I was like, man, I wish I had money to hire somebody. And if I had been paying myself all along, I could have taken my pay and hired somebody to do the work. So that's, first of all, realizing it's important to pay yourself, because not just for yourself and your family, because they deserve to be paid because they've sacrificed you, right? They've lost time with you to do this business, but also to be able to pay somebody else in the case that you have to step out. It's important. So definitely putting that money aside from owner's pay as from your collections, that percentage is extremely important to do that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, listen, we're going to go to break. And when we come back, we are going to talk more about how to get your finances straight in your small business. I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, and we will be right back. People always ask me, how can I become my own boss? With multiple features in the New York Times, Forbes, and on ABC News as America's #1 small business expert, I know a thing or two about how to do it. Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, and I've been coaching small business owners since 2008. That's right, I've been helping small business owners plan for success since the last recession, and I'm still here reaching over 3 million small business owners a week online. I've spent the last 12 years compiling exactly what I did to become my own boss. I even broke it down into a 6-step system in my best-selling book, Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months. Over 100,000 people in multiple languages around the world have this book, and due to the pandemic, I know people need help. If you're ready to transition successfully from being an employee into your own business, I'm here to help. I'm giving away 1,000 copies of Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months for free. All you need to do is pay for shipping. That's right, I'm giving away 1,000 copies for free. If you've always wanted to start your dream business, let me give you a roadmap to success. This offer will only be available while supplies last, and when they're gone, they're gone. Click on the button to grab your copy today. Welcome back to Small Biz Chat Live. I'm back with my guest, CPA Suzanne Moraga. She is talking to us about how to boost your financial management in your small business. All right, Suzanne, let's talk about it. How important is it to have a good billing strategy in your business?
It is extremely important to have a good billing strategy, and to the point that you can actually collect upfront or put automated payment plans in place. And there's some great ones now. Stripe will do that. QuickBooks will do that, where you can put your customers on auto pay, so you don't have to chase them and collect them. Those are great. For you guys that are in construction, make sure you're doing your progress billings too. Don't wait until the end to collect. Have those time points where you're collecting. It's also very important, but definitely you want to have a strong billing strategy where you're not chasing up front. Make sure you're getting those retainers up front, so that you're, at the end of the day, you're at least covering your costs. And then by the time you hit that final point where you're ready to close that bill, it's all profit at that point.
Right, right. Now, one of the things I've experienced with some of the businesses that I coach is as the EIDL loans or the emergency industry disaster loans came around, people qualified for loans and they were scared to sign to take the loans. Now, can you talk about this? You have any clients that, kind of came to you like, well, I qualified for the $60,000 loan. I don't know if I should. And I'm like, you'll never in your life get money cheaper than you can get it right now. Please sign quickly. Get the paperwork back. But I was wondering if you experienced that with any of your clients, like being concerned about the EIDL loans.
Right. And it really depends on what you can handle personally, right? Too, because some people don't handle debt very well personally. And it's something else just came out with the EIDL, Melinda, that you probably know about. They just allow you now to get $500,000. Now you got to personally guarantee that, but you can get a $500,000 EIDL loan potentially if you go through underwriting, which can be scary for some people too, especially if you're personally guaranteeing that. You're right. The interest rates were extremely low on EIDL, and plus there was the grant portion too, that you got a grant portion of the EIDL that you never have to pay back. It ended up being $1,000 employees. I think it started out as $10,000 with it. And it was great to have that as a cushion if you needed it. And worst comes to shove, you don't use it, right? You don't use it. You don't need it for those operating expenses. Then you just take it and pay it back, right? So it's personally, making sure that you can manage that debt, I think is the key with it. And it's a low rate.
Well, I think it's, 15 to 30 years to pay back a loan. Do it. But also make sure you know how you return every dollar you borrow into $3. That's the other thing I would say. Now, talk to me about, I know that because of the pandemic and some of the legislation and things that have come out, that there are some tax advantages that everybody might not be aware of. So maybe even for the people that didn't necessarily qualify for PPP or didn't get any, they kind of been taking care of people on the back end with some of the tax stuff. And I was wondering if you could just quickly explain to us some of the payroll tax that people are really benefiting from right now.
Yeah, let's talk about some of my favorite tax things that are happening with the PPP loan. First of all, it's changing every single day. So what I say today, it might be different completely tomorrow. So just be aware of that. That's one of the things that we found. One of the things that we're super excited about, and you guys may have heard about that, with the PPP loan, when it is forgiven, right? And this is loan 1 and loan 2, it is a non-taxable event. And I'm telling you, this has been one of the biggest wealth transfers in America. Like I've seen people get $300,000 PPP loans completely forgiven and being a tax-free. So that PPP loan is a tax-free loan once it's forgiven. Also, the grant portion of the EIDL loan, when that is not taxable income too. So that's a tax-free transaction for you, which is really good. One of the other things that's really great about it too is if 2020 was a hard year, right? Let's say you had to pivot online, you were previously brick and mortar, you suffered a loss in your business. And you guys know if you had a 25% decrease in revenue in any particular quarter, you got the second PPP loan. But if you also experienced a loss, what happened was, after tax cuts and job acts that came through a few years ago, you had to carry those losses forward, right? But now you can actually carry them backwards. And when you carry them backwards, you can actually get a refund for the last 5 years. So if anybody has had a loss, definitely take a look at getting those returns amended in order to get a refund, to get you some extra cash in your pocket because of those losses that you may have incurred. The other thing that happened to recently in December, we had a few good tax things that happened is meals. Meals are normally 50% deductible. They were 100% deductible because they want to give restaurants money, right? So now your meals are 100% deductible. So if you're, taking your office team out to lunch or you're, entertaining a client, those meals are 100% deductible. So definitely take advantage of that. And then also for those that give to charity, right? Whether you tithe or you just give to charity, just period, right? You used to have to just itemize in order to get those charitable deductions. Well, now, for 2020, if you don't itemize, you can still take a $300 deduction on your 1040 for charitable deduction. And if you're married filing jointly in 2021, you can get $600. So those are some of my favorite tax things that are happening because of the PPP loan.
Awesome. One of the other ones I know, though, is that if you are paid payroll tax in 2020 and payroll tax in 2021, I believe for 2020, 50% of the employer payroll taxes you paid is 50% deductible. And in 2021, I believe it's 70% deductible. So if those of you that have employees been paying payroll taxes, there is some more money out here for you. So make sure you talk to your accountant about all this stuff before you file so you can get everything back. And last word, if you're having trouble saving for your quarterly taxes, is it better to just pay them monthly so that you don't get behind?
You know what? This is where I love Profit First. One of the things in Profit First is that you have to have a tax account, right? We put 15% of your revenue into a tax account. So nobody has a reason to not pay taxes or have enough for taxes unless you're in California. Now, California, I say that's communist, totally different situation there. But, if you're putting away 15% of your top line revenue into taxes, you're going to have enough money to go tax cat. If you don't, then we need to have a different conversation. We need to read the book to get that implemented. Another thing is if you're an S corporation, which a lot of businesses are S corporations, right? You're going to pay taxes as you go, right? So as you have officer payroll, just like as Melinda said, right? You're going to be paying those taxes as you go. So you're going to be better off that way. And so you're not going to owe as much at the end of the quarter. And plus you're going to be implementing Profit First. So you're going to have a reserve set aside for it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, Suzanne, thank you so much. Don't go away. We're going to bring you back, but we really appreciate this great insight. We're going to talk about finances a little bit more, but now we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk about developing a website that converts. You're watching the Small Biz Chat Live. I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, and we will be right back. Is now the right time to start a business? This is the second most frequently asked question people always ask me, along with how can I become my own boss? And they aren't wrong for asking, because right now, these are the two most important questions anyone whose job security has been recently impacted is wondering. Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, better known as Small Biz Lady. And when it comes to small business success, I've been featured multiple times on MSNBC and CNBC and ABC News as America's #1 small business expert. Since the last recession in 2008, I have helped many small business owners plan for success, and I'm still here, reaching 3 million entrepreneurs each week online. I've created a system that will teach you exactly how to become your own boss. I broke it all down into a 6-step system in my best-selling book, Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months. It's the exact roadmap to help you successfully transition from having a job to being your own boss. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many folks are suffering, and I want to do my part to help. I'm giving away 1,000 copies of my book for free. All you need to do is cover the shipping. If you have always wanted to start your dream business, let me give you a roadmap to success. Take advantage of my free offer while supplies last. Click the button below to grab yours before they're all gone. Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat. I am Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady. We are broadcasting from my Small Biz Lady Facebook page. We're also over on my YouTube channel, and most certainly we are broadcasting on Twitter as well. Now let me introduce my next guest, Billy Polson. He is a nationally recognized performance coach, fitness entrepreneur, motivational speaker, and founder and co-founder of Ducati. As a fitness performance coach, he was named by Men's Journal magazine one of the top 100 trainers in America, as well as one of the top trainers in the Bay Area by the San Francisco Chronicle. He also is the founder in 2015 of Ducati's business movement, which continues to assist hundreds of fitness professionals worldwide with building and growing a successful fitness business. Billy, welcome to Small Biz Chat.
Thanks, Melinda. Happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. All right. Tell me about your background. How does one go from personal trainer to business coach? Take me on the story.
I'll be honest. It starts back in 1998, way far back. I graduated from college with a statistics degree, and sitting behind a desk was not my thing. So I did technology for many years and coached in the evenings, and thought that was the only way I could do it would be for fun. And I honestly, in 1998, I got tired of sitting behind a desk all day, and I took a self-assessment course. And that course, at the end of it, the 6 weeks, I did my presentation of what I loved, and the whole class was said to me, "Why are you not a personal trainer?" So that's when that started. I built my independent personal training practice here in San Francisco. And I did that for 6 years in a tiny, small basement gym, no windows. You couldn't even jump rope. The ceiling was so low. And I knew there had to be something bigger. There had to be something better where you could actually jump. And so my husband was a trainer at the time as well. And so in 2004, we opened DIAKADI Fitness together. And DIAKADI is an interesting business model that it's like a WeWork for fitness. So we run the facility, and it allows independent trainers to run their practice out of our facility. So just before COVID, we had 84 independent trainers that were running their practice out of our facility.
Wow.
And that's kind of how the business movement came along. When we opened, we wanted it to be we wanted to have the 5-star experiences if they were on staff, but to give them all the benefits as an independent contractor. And we didn't realize that some of those benefits needed to be teaching folks how to be better business owners. So after years of doing that in-house, we decided in 2015, you know what, we need to take this show on the road. There's so many independent trainers or small studio owners out there that really needed better business owner skills on marketing and branding and finances. Thanks, Suzanne. I took some notes from my folks. But we went out to really make a difference in the fitness industry for helping the small business owner. And that is, I've pivoted now, and I just do full-time business coaching, business performance coaching for, again, studio owners and trainers around the world.
Wow. Okay. So what are the leading ways in which, like, I know that you believe that their website is like key, and I'm a big fan of that too. I believe your website is your number one sales tool. So when you jump in and you start coaching your people, that's where you kind of start with the website, right? Where do you kind of help them kind of get focused on that?
I'll do a little step first, not little, but we'll start with branding, right? We'll start with going deep on everything from really defining who their target customer is. You mentioned that earlier, being very clear on that. As you all know, the fitness industry right now, there are countless options out there. So unless you are really smart and a little courageous with defining a narrow target customer, you are fighting against the world right now with virtual training in every single room, every single person's home. So
right. The Peloton
really
people are evil,
them.
Right? The Peloton people are evil.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere now. So we have really had to go deep with folks on their brand and their target audience, but then on their differentiators. Honestly, that's probably one of my favorite things to do, even above and beyond the website, is helping fitness business owners really determine how they will not be the same as every other of the millions of fitness business owners out there or fitness offerings out there, and helping them think creatively about that, digging deep on how are they unique in their market, how are they the leader in their market, and most importantly, how are they the best fit for that target customer, and really helping folks define those differentiators is where we start. Then we come to the point of building that foundation, that website. So as folks arrive on the site, all of that information is crystal clear.
So if somebody wants to immediately connect with their customer on their website, it's about the branding. It's about, what do I offer? And I'm here for you. And they know that you're here for them. So now let's talk about mobile though, because we live in a mobile first world. So it's about your website, but it's about this. It's like, people, 24% of people now only operate their whole life from a phone, right? And the number is getting higher and higher. So how can people make sure that whatever website they have is really engaging mobile customers, and even looking into mobile advertising and things like that? Like, are you helping people with some of that as well?
So from the mobile side, you bring up an excellent point. Two things. One, over 50% of users are using mobile for their marketing in terms of as they're looking and shopping. So that's 1 in every 2 people looking for your services. So you have to lean into mobile in that way. But even more importantly, Google is now using mobile as their SEO baseline for deciding their indexing and deciding their rankings on pages. So you have to, for sure, even more, make sure that your site is mobile friendly and definitely tuned for mobile. With that in mind, again, that branding is going to have to be what really shines through. Once you have that clear set of differentiators on your website, and we'll keep it on the mobile idea. When they come to your mobile website and they pull it up and they've never heard of you ever, you've got less than 6 seconds to impress them. I call it the drive-by billboard idea. Like, they're driving down that freeway, they're flying in through sites, shopping for a personal trainer, and you've got 6 seconds to slow them down and to get them to read or see what is attractive to them and inspiring to them. So before you start heading out and doing lots of paid ads and trying to get people there, do the free stuff first. Like, go deep and go really strong into your branding. Make sure when someone arrives on your site, that target customer, they see themselves on your site. They see pictures of them. They see videos of them, folks like them with the same issues, doing like experiencing a day in the life with you. That videos are so valuable in that way, because when someone lands on the site, you cannot have stock photos in this day and age, especially in the fitness industry. Absolutely not. It has to be a real person that's already worked with you, and that has to be a representative of that target customer you're aiming at.
Right. So don't have all the skinny people on the website.
It is the biggest mistake.
That's a big turnoff. I want to tell you, that's a turnoff. Stop that.
And half the time, that is not who needs our services. Why would you put people on there that don't need your services? Like, put the folks who are your real customers, the folks who really need help from you. And you know what? It's a perfect point. On the website, make sure your language is spoken from the perspective of the customer and their feedback and how things have been for them in using your products and services. So there's a great percentage. 80% of people will trust what your clients say about you more than what you say about yourself. So you got 4 out of 5 people who want to hear what your client said, not the jargon that you're writing about yourself. So make sure that social proof and testimonials are front and center on your website. Let your clients be your marketing.
I love it. I love it. It's like having an unpaid sales force, right? When you can engage 100%. Your customers, when you can engage your customers and love on you, it's like pure gold. So if I'm a business owner and I'm trying to figure out what can I do to get better engagement and conversions, like, what are 2 or 3 ideas I can do, like, right now? Like, what are 2 or 3 things I could just implement with my website?
Again, put yourself in the shoes of someone who's shopping for your services, but they have no idea who you are. So all that, you have to constantly come back to them. Donald Miller, one of my favorite business coaches and business mentors, talks a ton about the content that you write on your website needs to be spoken in the language of your clients and what's inspiring, and explaining to them how will you improve their lives. So first of all, make sure you're filtering everything on your digital marketing that, again, is focused on speaking the language of your clients so they see themselves and it's inspiring and exciting to them. The next thing, social proof, we already mentioned. On the homepage for that, again, drive-by billboard. No big bodies of text where they're telling you like 10 sentences of their experiences with you. Think about your differentiators and pop out the sections of your social proof or your testimonials that point out your differentiators to your clients. Point out what you want them to know about their experiences. Put it in a different color, put it in a bigger font, and make sure that social proof is, again, drive-by billboard friendly on your homepage. Then give them a button that leads to the whole story about Natalie and the whole story about Elizabeth, so they can really see Natalie's goals and what she was looking for when she came to you. Or again, Elizabeth, the breakthroughs that she's had, have those on a big results page. But on that home page, drive-by friendly, social proof, and that will immediately help a potential customer trust. Yeah, this person knows how to work with me. They've worked with folks who have my issues. They've worked with folks who have my goals. I see myself on that homepage.
Love it, love it, love it. All right, now, SEO has changed a lot, right? It's not just about know your keywords anymore. You got to know a whole lot more. You got to know a whole lot more than just your keywords, right? Talk to me about how you need to be thinking about that if you're going to play the content game, right? If you're going to develop content, what do you need to know about SEO?
Again, the keywords are the basics for sure, right? Like your headers, make sure, again, it's just like going back to your target client. Make sure you know those keywords. Those are still the basics. You need to have them there. One thing I will see on keywords, I'll give you a quick background story. When we opened the Business Movement website in 2015, we were on page 5 for our ideal keywords. We spent a year going deep into learning SEO and adjusting it. SEO is a long game and it is a moving target. At the end of that year, we moved up to the top of page 1, and it's just from doing the little things that I'll tell you right now. One, on the keywords, we use the photo names, and the URLs are great places to put those keywords and the unique versions of them, even more than the headers on the page. So think about your URLs. Like we have a page that's called DIAKADI.life/best personal trainer in San Francisco. That's the URL. And so immediately that pops up for that search. So that's a great keyword advice. The next thing on SEO is think about the functionality of your website and make sure that every single interaction, every single purchase, every calendar appointment, all send folks through your website. Every single visit counts. Obviously, the link backs and the functionality on the web in terms of from your social media in and out. Even better is press. Obviously, if you have press that goes in and out, but the links in and out of your site are so valuable as well, especially from very reputable sources. Right. And the last thing I'll say, as you are trying to, again, define who you are, you've got the keywords, you got the functionality, make sure that you're constantly or consistently, maybe consistently is better than constant, updating your site. So many of my clients come to me, I just want the site to look amazing and I never have to look at it again. And you can't do that, especially after this past year. There's so many websites, fitness websites, where it looks like COVID never happened. There's not a mask on the site. There's not a safety protocol. And you cannot do that. So make sure that you are consistently updating your site. It feels very current. Google, Bing, they will love a site that is alive and really flourishing to make sure that they are, again, checking and indexing you, re-indexing you.
Well, one of the other things I want to say too is when you're thinking about SEO, you've got to think about obviously your keywords, like your C keywords and that kind of stuff, and your long tail keywords, but you also have to be thinking about intent. If you don't have content that solves the person's intent, why are they searching? You're done before you get started too, because that now goes into it like intent, the intent of the search and the keywords they're using to search are now like, you know, hand in hand. So you really have to be thinking about that as well. So it's about what you said, relevancy, authority, volume, like keyword volume. How many times are people typing in this word, right? Very, very important.
And you nailed it. The content sharing is also a great way to connect and to gain their trust. So many folks hold their most valuable content tight and they're like, you know what? I want them to pay for this. Absolutely not.
Nah, you got to give away your best stuff free. Yes. Give away your best stuff free.
100%.
Yeah.
You got to gain their trust.
How are you going to get somebody to pay you and you're going to give them your mediocre content? It's like, it doesn't work like that. Now, one of the other things, and I'm going to particularly pick on you for a minute in the fitness industry, y'all like hype. Y'all like hype language on websites. And that has become like, you know, persona non grata now. But how do you help people? Like, you know, there's a balance between I always have a rule. It's not boastful if it's factual, right? So if I'm telling you a fact, that's one thing. But you have to be careful of running. There's a thin line between boastfulness, hype, exaggerating because I'm insecure that I don't have the credentials, so I'm going to exaggerate the little credentials that I have. Right, to look like I'm somebody worth somebody talk to. Yeah, so you gotta be careful. I can't tell you how many times people send me a bio or something, and I'm like, what are they saying in this? I'm reading it going, no,
You know,
no,
it's
no.
funny when you said boastfulness, I thought you were going to say BS, which is basically what it ends up being.
I'm
Like,
trying
keep
to
going
be
there.
polite, Billy. I wasn't gonna say that. But I mean, I do think it's worth noting though that we do have this thing about, and in your industry, you guys are a little guilty of it. You guys in the plastic surgeons, you guys promise magical results. Like I just kind of I want you to give one public service announcement about why this is not a good idea.
I will happily speak for the fitness industry in this way. It has to be real. Again, you have to put yourself in the shoes of a customer who has no idea who you are. And a lot of times the folks who come to us, they're desperate. Like they've tried a lot of things on their own. They've been frustrated by mixed messages, and again, mixed messages due to diets that promise things that they won't do, or workouts that promise things. So it's got to be real. It's got to be so genuine. That's why, again, I'll go back to videos. It's got to come from you. Like it's hard for you to say something and say it in a way that sounds real when it is like just a bunch of bull. So a video is great. Then we go back to that idea of testimonials and let your customers say what it is that is amazing about your business. Let them say what the results are, because those will be real. Let your customers be the marketing, and that will keep it so genuine. It's, in this day and age, folks really are looking for that connection more, I think, often even than the results. They just want someone to hear them. They want someone to understand them. And that's where the messaging should go, as opposed to promising, I don't know, a size 2 or whatever it would be, right?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, listen, thank you so much for those valuable tips. I have enjoyed so much learning from you. And when we come right back, we're going to ask Billy a little bit more about his business movement. I'm Melinda Emerson. You're watching Small Biz Chat Live, and we will be right back. Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, and I'm known as America's #1 small business expert. I know a thing or two about how to run a successful business. I've been running my own for over 20 years, and I'm often asked, how do I actually become my own boss? It starts with knowing what you want and why. Then you need to figure out how you'll fund your dream business. Next, you must research your idea and make sure you understand everything that's involved. Next, you must determine your target customer, then complete your business plan. And finally, it's time to start your business as a side hustle first, if you can. I wrote my best-selling book, Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months, to give you a roadmap to business success. And over 100,000 people in multiple languages around the world have been helped by this book. And now, to support people affected by this pandemic, I'm giving away 1,000 copies of Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months for free. All you need to do is pay the shipping and handling fees. If you're ready to turn your calling into income, claim your free copy of my book today. Don't delay. This offer is only good while supplies last. Click the button below and get yours before they're all gone. Welcome back to Small Biz Chat Live. I am with my guest, Billy Polson, and he is a performance coach and business coach. And he is going to talk to us about how to really take your business to the next level. He's a fitness expert. So, Billy, I know you created the business movement. Quickly, tell me what that is.
For sure. It is, I always say that we search out folks who want to be pioneering fitness entrepreneurs, folks who don't want to be the same as every other personal trainer, every other studio gym. They want to do it in a new, adventurous way, so that they are doing what they love and bringing that to their clients. So my job is very similar to yours. My job is to help them gain whatever skills and resources they need in order to do that, for sure.
Awesome, awesome. Now, one last question for you about websites. I hate to harp on this, but I know it's important. Landing pages. I have more people tell me that they get turned off from a website from their landing experience. So depending on, you might come in from a link, you might come in from an ad. How can we make sure that we give customers the ultimate landing page experience when they get on our website?
Your job is to make it easy. like the customer experience that you would deal with, like for us, you would deal with in a gym, that customer experience doesn't start when they walk in the door. It starts when they land on your page. It needs to be easy. It needs to be very concise and not feel frustrating to them. So, especially for folks that have a wide variety of target customers or a wide variety of products and services, having that landing page that sends them directly for what they're looking for. It sends them directly to coaching or to a course or to a specific product. That will make their customer experience truly like boosted to that 5-star on your website as well. For us, for example, the business movement, we built what we call the customer user experience tool. So when someone lands on our site, they immediately tell us that they're a trainer or a gym owner. And then the site is completely re-indexed only to give them the data that they need. So anything that you can do that's a unique way of taking all the data you have to share with clients and the product and services, filter it down to make it so simple and easy for them to find what they need within 1-2 clicks max. Make it easy for them.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you so much, Billy, for being here with me. You've provided invaluable information, and hang on, we're going to come back to you in a little bit, but I just wanted to say thank you for being here. I have truly enjoyed getting to know you. Now, when we come back on Small Biz Chat Live, we're going to be talking with a CFO about the things you don't know about running $1 million business. I'm Melinda Emerson. You're watching Small Biz Chat Live, and we'll be right back. I just finished presenting to over 2,000 small business owners who jumped on my webinar on how to become your own boss in these uncertain times. I partner with top brands including Verizon, American Express, and Chase to educate small business owners across the country. In today's webinar, I taught my 6-step system to start a business. I also taught them how to establish a disaster-proof plan to turn their calling into income. We talked about how to find the people they want to serve online. I know how to help you make money as a boss. I've spent the last 12 years compiling exactly what it takes to become your own boss. I even broke it down into a 6-step system in my best-selling book, Become Your Own Boss. Over 100,000 people in multiple languages around the world have this book. And due to the pandemic, I know people need help. If you're ready to transition successfully from being an employee to becoming your own boss, listen carefully. I'm giving away 1,000 copies of my book, Become Your Own Boss, for free. All you need to do is pay for shipping. That's right, I'm giving away 1,000 copies. This book is going to show you how to become your own boss, create a pandemic-proof plan, and launch a successful business. Don't delay. This offer is only available while supplies last. Welcome back to Small Biz Chat. I'm Melinda Emerson, the small biz lady and America's #1 small business expert. I couldn't leave us today without talking about the big issues in business. We're going to be talking about money, more money. So I have with me the founder of Newcastle Finance. Her name is Kathy Svetina, and she is going to talk to us about how she became a part-time CFO for women business owners. For nearly 14 years, she did senior level financial planning and analysis for Fortune 500 companies. And she saw firsthand how financial information was used to drive companies forward. And she wanted to offer those same kinds of services to small businesses so they could be healthy and sustainable. So for more information about her company is newcastlefinance.us. Kathy, welcome to Small Biz Chat Live.
Thank you so much, Melinda. I'm really happy to be here.
All right. So tell me how you became a part-time CFO. Like, how did you say, you know what, corporate America, I'm done with you guys. I'm going to go help the little guys. How did you make that decision, and how has that been working for you?
That's exactly kind of like what actually happened. I was in the corporate America for almost, a decade and a half. And what always really bothered me about that was that these large corporations have huge departments to take care of their finances. I mean, they have the tax department, they have the accountants, the financial analysts, the strategy people. But when you go into the small business space, no one's really doing that for them. I mean, they have the accountants and they have the bookkeepers, but they're really concerned more about the current pieces and what happened in the business and what happened in the past. But when it comes to the future and the mapping of the strategy of the business, no one's really doing that for them. And, they're not financial wizards, the business owners. They're there because they really love the product and they enjoy the service that they're giving. But so they're really missing that crucial piece of the finances is how do you actually take that data that your accountants and bookkeepers are giving you and how do you actually plan for the business? So that's when I said, you know what, I'm going to leave the corporate America and I'm going to try to help them.
All right. So I know one of the things that a lot of business owners say, I want to be $1 million business, right? Everyone, that's this like magical goal. But, we heard earlier that only 4% of small business owners ever get there. But I think that it's a little bit of a misnomer to run $1 million business. And I wanted you to sort of like break down for us sort of like the secrets to running $1 million business, because I think people really have some I don't think people really understand what it means.
Yeah, and there's a good point when it comes to $1 million business. What does that really mean? Does that mean $1 million in sales? Does that mean $1 million in profit? Does that mean $1 million in cash? So those are kind of different. Those are different forms of how you want to go and classify $1 million business. So for the purposes that I want to talk about, the $1 million business is a business that's actually making $1 million in sales annually. So when you're getting to that point of the business ownership, that's usually when the business becomes a little bit more complex and there's a lot more processes. There's a lot more financial planning that needs to happen than just, what happened before. So usually business owners are very, they're very comfortable with looking at their checking account and actually seeing the money, the cash that they have in the bank account. I have the money in the bank account, I'm good. But the problem with that is when you come to those levels, that's when you really start to think about the future of your business and how you're actually planning for it. And if you are not having the right processes and the right planning, financial planning in place, the business can actually start to unravel. There's a lot more complexity and there's a lot more planning that you have to be doing at those levels.
So there's an old rap song where he says more money, more problems. So is that what you're trying to tell me, that this is what happens? Like $1 million business, you think you want that, you might not, right? Because it's kind of complicated. Yes.
Yeah. It is more money, more problems, but it's actually different type of problems. So you can actually get to a point, believe it or not, when you have too much cash in your bank account. And I actually call that lazy money because, you have it in your bank account, it looks good, it looks great, but the problem is it's not really doing anything for you.
Right.
And what's worse is because of the inflation, the inflation is actually chipping away all of that money. So
Right.
Instead of having that in your bank account, it's looking at it and saying, what could I actually be doing with the money that I'm getting a good return on it? Do I want to invest it in my own business? Do I want to invest it in more people so that I can grow, if that's what your goal is? Do you want to, for example, do you have to invest in equipment? Or even you can actually go and start buying other businesses, and that's going to give you a good return. So looking at it from a perspective of, what do I have right now and how can I better use these resources so that they're going to give me a good return?
That's really interesting because is it typically when someone gets to about $1 million in revenues when they really need to be thinking about bringing a CFO in-house versus just kind of using an accountant or whatever? Like, tell me about, when does someone need to be thinking about a CFO in their business?
So there's a difference. When you're bringing someone in-house, that means they're actually going to be on your payroll. The problem with that with the CFOs is they're really expensive. And when you're in the $1 million sales, you don't really need someone full-time in your business at that point. Mm-hmm. But you do need that expertise. You need that strategic financial expertise that your accountants and your bookkeepers are just not able to provide. But that's where the fractional CFO step in. Mm-hmm. So what a fractional CFO does, and that's actually in the name piece too, they are offering the same type of CFO level service, but they're doing it at a fraction of a cost and they're doing it at a fraction of a time. So instead of paying someone, for 40 hours a week, you're only paying them for 5, 10 hours, or however long you need them for, and whatever support that makes sense for your particular business.
So, without the CFO, you can tend to miss some of the things that are going on with your finances, right? What about, I know that I've read before, you talk a lot about financial planning, and you feel like that's almost more of a need than a priority, as you will, over sort of like the monthly analysis, like kind of reconciliation, or as you would say, like sort of like the look backward stuff versus the look forward stuff. And I wanted you to really explain that, because when I think financial planner, I think the person's handling my stocks and my Bitcoin or whatever, you know what I mean? So help me understand, when you talk about financial planning in a small business, how often does that need to be done, and what are you looking at with that?
Yeah. So first of all, before you do any of the financial planning, you have to have that foundation in place, which is where your data comes in, all the stuff that your bookkeeper and an accountant are putting in. If you don't have that done well, it's, as the saying goes, you have garbage in, garbage out, unfortunately. So that is the piece of the foundation. And once you have that in your, accounting system, and you know that it's accurate, then you can put on top of the financial planning. And how often you should be doing it, it really depends on the type of business you have, and how complex it is and how established you are. So I also work a lot with businesses that are they're just starting up with the startups. So startup is has a completely different planning cycle than an already established business, right? That's already making $6 million figure in sales. But the way how I like to explain to my clients that there are essentially 2 seasons that you should be looking at. So I like to think of it the fall planning and the spring planning. So since we're in the spring already, that is where you actually do strategic planning of the business. You're looking at it from a 3 to 5 year plan. Where do you want to be 3 to 5 years from now? What are your goals? And most important is, how are you going to get there? How are you going to achieve them? So that's when you're putting your projections, your budgets together for the next 3 to 5 years. You're putting a plan, right? And in the fall is where you're actually preparing. You're preparing for the next year. And that is where you put the budgets together. And, the budgets are, how much do you think you're going to be selling your products and your services for, all of your expenses that you're going to be putting in, the cash that's going to come into your business. So these are all the pieces that you should be looking at. And, when you're doing that, you have to keep in mind that, the environment is going to change, the business is going to change, and you're probably going to have to take a look at the budget later on and do another forecast. So the forecast is basically, what it means is that, you're using the budget for the 3 months, and then things happen. You're going to have new contracts, new clients come in, new expenses. You want to be updating it. So it's a living document. It's not like you put a budget together and you put it in a desk and that's done, right? It's a plan. You want to look at it through the monthly planning, through the monthly cycle, and also when you're doing your forecasting. So that's when I mean you have to do the financial planning.
So then in the fall, is that when you're doing your tax planning?
That's a part of it too, because you do want to make sure that you're planning for taxes as well, and want to sit down with the accountant to make sure that, how are the purchases that you're planning for, how is that going to affect your taxes? So that's a piece of it. Yes.
So from a CFO perspective, what do you think people need to do better as they're inching up to $1 million business? Like, there's some stuff they need to kind of be paying attention to in order to get to $1 million and then beyond. What are some of the key things that they should be looking at when they see themselves having major growth?
I think the main thing that people don't do is they don't take a step away from the business and look at it from a 10,000 foot view, right? They're very embedded in the business. They're very embedded in the details. But when you're starting to grow your business, when you're really seeing the momentum, is where it really pays off. When you take a step back and say, where am I really going? What is my goal? And especially, if you want to sell your business 3-5 years down the road, the way how you operate right now, is going to be a lot different if you just want to run it. For example, you have to do succession planning, putting all the processes together. Who's gonna, are you going to be selling it, or are you going to be giving it off to an employee, to your partner? These are all type of questions that you should be asking yourself when you're looking at your business strategically.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the other things I wanted to ask you about was, when is it time to go to a bank for financing, whether it's line of credit or an actual loan for the bank, if you're in sort of like growth mode?
The best time to go for a line of credit is when you don't need it. Because at that point, you are not going to be desperate. You're actually going to talk to a couple of bankers. You're going to get better terms. You're going to be able to have this kind of sober mind and compare different, because essentially what it is comparison shopping. You want to get the best term that you can, so that when you do actually need the line of credit or any, other loans that you need, that it's going to be able to support you in a better way, and then you're getting terms. So you're not getting 20% interest because, that's just terrible, but you're getting something that really works for you. And the best time to do it is when you actually don't need it.
All right. And last question. So what is the biggest, best business advice you could give to someone that's inching close to $1 million in revenue?
The best thing that I can give would be plan. Really plan. You have to be proactive about your business, not reactive. And to get there, you can, there's actually tools out there that you can be using, especially if you're going to do them in a DIY style versus using someone like a Fractional Cfo. And, this is not sponsored in any way, but I really love these two tools. They're called the Spotlight Reporting and the Fathom. And they both integrate with whatever accounting software you have, whether you have QuickBooks, whether you have Xero, they both integrate, and they'll be able to guide you through the planning process into actually putting your KPIs in place so that you can see your financials and you can actually get the insights from it, what you need to support in your business.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Kathy. You've provided some great insight. And actually, I'd never heard of those two tools. So you're actually educating me tonight. So what I want to do now is bring back my other two guests. I want to bring back Suzanne Moraga, who is our other financial expert tonight, our CPA. And of course, Billy Polson. I want to bring both of them back because now we're going to have a little segment that we call Hit It and Quit It. And this is pretty easy, guys. I'm going to ask each of you the exact same question. You only have 30 seconds to answer. And the key is you cannot repeat the answer of someone else. If someone says your answer, you got to come up with something else. If not, I'm going to give you the cowbell. Okay. I don't want to do that to you. So the first question, I'm going to come back to Suzanne. You've been waiting the longest, so you get to answer the first question, and then I'm going to go to Billy, and then Kathy, you're going to be last. So the first question is pretty easy. Suzanne, what is your favorite podcast? What is your favorite podcast?
Lately it's been Small Biz Chat. I've been vegging out on that one.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, teacher's pet. Okay, all right. Billy, what is your favorite podcast?
I apologize. I'm going to go fitness industry. It's the Fitness Business Podcast, but I will give a little disclaimer that no matter what your small business is, there are always excellent nuggets in there that'll help you out. So Fitness Business Podcast. Love it.
Love it. All right, Kathy, what's your favorite podcast?
I am a huge NPR nerd, and I love How I Built This by Guy Raz.
I listen to that podcast too. I really like that podcast as well. I'm a big NPR nerd too. All right. Second question. I'm going to come to you, Billy, first. You, Kathy, second. And Suzanne, you get to be third this time. All right. What is your favorite business app? Favorite business app, Billy?
Asana. Asana has been so helpful for our team in terms of task management and sharing projects and deadlines and keeping us on task. Asana for sure.
All right. Good one. Good one. Kathy, what's your favorite business app?
Given that I did not grow up in US and English is not my first language, Grammarly.
Oh, okay. Well, you speak English pretty good. I wouldn't have guessed you didn't grow up here.
Thank you.
I like Grammarly too. And Suzanne, what's your favorite business app?
QuickBooks.
I should have known that, right? What would a CPA say but QuickBooks? All right, fair enough. Okay, next question. This first question is going to come to you, Kathy. Second to you, Suzanne. Third to you, Billy. What is your favorite old school marketing tip? Favorite old school marketing tip?
Simple. Talk to people. Talk to as many people as you can.
Pick up the phone, right? It's like, come on, old school as you can get. All right, Suzanne, what's your favorite old school marketing tip?
Network, get to know people.
All right, networking definitely still works. Online and offline still works. All right, Billy, what's your favorite old school marketing tip?
I don't want to be too similar, but my uncle used to always tell me you can never have too many friends. So it's about having a glow and walking into every single conversation as one that will take you somewhere. So yeah, always looking for your next friend.
All right, that's a borderline, but I'm going to give you that one, okay? All right, and last question, I'm going to go Suzanne, Billy, Kathy. Best business book you've ever read. Best business book you ever read. Suzanne, what is it?
Hands down, profit first. I like
somehow I'm clairvoyant. I knew you were going to say that. All right, Billy, what's your favorite business book?
No, I promise this is one I had already. Mike McCalloway's Clockwork. Hands down, for folks that are having trouble micromanaging and they've got to be better on delegating, Clockwork. It's excellent.
Ooh, I'm going to tell Mike McCalloway he's got some fans up in here. All right. Kathy, what is your favorite business book?
I thought that Billy's going to take this one, but because he did, I will. Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. Hands down, my favorite.
That's a great book. That's a great book. And my favorite business book is Disrupt You by Jay Samit. I think if you want to disrupt the world, start by disrupting yourself. Listen, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being here. You know, brand new author, Suzanne Moraga. Please go out and grab her book, Profit First for Minority Business Enterprises. Thank you so much to performance coach Billy Polson and our financial expert, Kathy Svetina, CEO of Newcastle Finance. Thank you all for joining me for this episode of the Small Biz Chat Live. If you want more information about how to start and grow a successful small business, head on over to my blog, succeedasyourownboss.com, to get more information. And we always say here at Small Biz Chat, our mission is to end small business failure. But I leave you with this: you never lose in business. Either you win or you learn. God bless everybody. Good night. I just finished presenting to over 2,000 small business owners who jumped on my webinar on how to become your own boss in these uncertain times. I partner with top brands including Verizon, American Express, and Chase to educate small business owners across the country. In today's webinar, I taught my 6-step system to start a business. I also taught them how to establish a disaster-proof plan to turn their calling into income. We talked about how to find the people they want to serve online. I know how to help you make money as a boss. I've spent the last 12 years compiling exactly what it takes to become your own boss. I even broke it down into a 6-step system in my best-selling book, Become Your Own Boss. Over 100,000 people in multiple languages around the world have this book. And due to the pandemic, I know people need help. If you're ready to transition successfully from being an employee to becoming your own boss, listen carefully. I'm giving away 1,000 copies of my book, Become Your Own Boss, for free. All you need to do is pay for shipping. That's right, I'm giving away 1,000 copies. This book is going to show you how to become your own boss, create a pandemic-proof plan, and launch a successful business. Don't delay. This offer is only available while supplies last.